Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. As you can see, I'm in the park with my daughters. I'm enjoying a Sapporo beer. Actually, I just finished it. But it's okay because I've got a Kirin Ichiban Shiburi on the ready. And I'm wearing a Casio watch. I got this Casio almost a year ago. And I got it around the time that I got my P Serial GMT Master 2. And link in the description to the unboxing of that P Serial GMT Master 2. But I got it at a pawn shop, and when I bought it, I got a point card that had points related to the purchase price of the GMT. Worked out to 200 USD. So I dropped by the shop again after that to use the points, and because I have to use them in a year. I still haven't used them. I got about 130 USD to use, but this was the only thing that they had within that price range that appealed to me. They had a bunch of quartz Technos watches, and have not appreciated it at all except for the last week, and I've loved it. And I'm not going to bore you with the reasons. That's probably another video, one maybe you should avoid, but it's amazing the pleasure a simple digital Casio can bring to even a watch snob. So what are we doing here? Well, we're having a couple beers and chatting about a couple of different watches. And let's crack the relatively warm Kirin beer. Cheers. Yeah, it's a little bit warm, but you know, we don't drink beer for the flavor, do we? No, it's got a great flavor. Both of these beers do. And Sapporo, made in the city of Sapporo on the island of Hokkaido in the northern parts of Japan. The northern island of Japan. Which is better? Yeah, I like the Kirin more, I think. But, I don't know. It's got the GG seal of approval. I've got to support the Kirin. Anyway, so, yes, let's get to the topic, and it's a paid video from Lee from Florida. So thank you, Lee. And this is exactly the kind of atmosphere that I want to, make this video in, because I want to have just sort of a casual discussion about these two watches. All right, so let me just read what he wrote. He wrote, "Hi, Austin, I just sent you some money via PayPal and have another question for you that I thought might make an interesting YouTube video. If you could only own one of these, which would you pick and why?" I love these either-or scenarios, these false dilemmas, which are fun, right? Horological false dilemmas are fun. Rolex Steel with Blue Dial Sky Dweller 42 millimeter, or Rolex Steel 43 millimeter Sea Dweller 50th anniversary with the red text. Okay, so those are the two watches. Which one would I go for? He says, "I'm interested in your opinion as to which watch will be a better investment long term. Even though they are fairly comparably priced at an AD, I know the blue, Sky Dweller currently carries a much higher premium on the gray market. I'm not a flipper, however, and intend to hold mine long term, wear it, and enjoy it. Long term, the Sea Dweller could catch up to it. My heart tells me that the Sea Dweller is more quintessential Rolex, but on the other hand, the Sky Dweller is Rolex's first annual calendar. I'm torn between two lovers and feeling like a fool." And that's a Mary McGregor reference. Thank you, Lee from Florida. I appreciate that. And we're comparing two watches, and it's really comparing apples and oranges, because not only do they have different functions, but aesthetically they're completely different, and they have completely different personas as well. I mean, the Sea Dweller is an adventurer's watch, and the Sky Dweller is the jet setter's watch. Now, you might think I would go for the Sea Dweller because I love dive watches, I love rugged adventure watches with rotating informational bezels, but I feel like I've got those bases covered, so I probably would go with the Sky Dweller because it's different. And look, if you're in a shop, an AD, and you're looking at these two watches and they are similarly priced and you're on the fence and you have your choice of the two, I would go with the Sky Dweller and try it out, because if it's not what you want, you can flip it for more. And I see that watch as holding its value more long term. I think what the Sea Dweller does, other watches do, but almost do a little bit better in a more, um, wearable size, and that's the sub, or the no date sub. Now, I get it, those watches don't have a helium escape valve, they can't go as deep, but unless you're a professional diver going into one of those helium oxygen compression chambers, I don't think it's an issue, and I'm not that person. I don't think Lee is either. And so there are a lot of watches that aesthetically and really functionally do, and again, do better, I think, what the Sea Dweller does. Whereas the Sky Dweller I think many people regard that as sort of a standalone model, separate and distinct from any other thing, kind of like the Explorer 2. Back when it first came out, and it was a spelunking watch. I mean, it was just a completely unique line. Is that the case? It's the way I kind of conceptualized it until I started looking at the elements of the Sky Dweller, and there are a lot of Datejust elements there. You've got the fluted bezel, the stick dial, the polished middle links on the Oyster bracelet. It's basically like a Datejust on steroids, a Datejust Plus for the jet setter that needs a GMT function but doesn't want to go sporty, i.e. Explorer 2, GMT Master 2. And in that sense, it's a completely different persona. And again, while the persona of the Sea Dweller appeals to me more, sometimes it's kind of good to go outside your box and experience new things. And it's a very safe proposition buying a blue-dialed Sky Dweller retail if you can find it, because you can certainly get out of it. It's a great watch to try, and make some money if it doesn't work out. Let me know if you think that I'm likening the Sky Dweller too much to the Datejust, but the more I look at it, the more it looks like a souped-up Datejust to me. And look, there are firsts with that watch, but look, I wouldn't look at firsts as indicators of future collectability. I mean, there's always a first out there. There's always a first ceramic bicolored bezel. And there's always a first maxi case, or a first two-tone watch with a helium escape valve. There's always a first out there, and there's always a last. I think in the future, it's not going to be these models so much as it's going to be idiosyncrasies within these models. Things like perhaps the Mark I dial on a ceramic Pepsi, or perhaps the Explorer with the shorter hands and the 369 in white gold. In 20 years down the road, those watches are going to be hard to find. Thin frame Explorer 2s, frog foot, 14060Ms. Those are the watches that I think are going to be hard to come by, and they're hard to come by now. I don't think it's going to be, firsts and lasts. I don't think that's going to dictate it. That's another video. I want to go off on this tangent and talk about those idiosyncratic Rolexes. But anyway, let's stick to the topic here. So anyway, yeah, I think your money's better being put into the Sky Dweller. Yeah, the Sky Dwellers. I mean, it's got punch, and I've never seen one of those in the wild. I can't say that I've seen a Sea Dweller, but if I saw a Sea Dweller, I'd say, oh, it's a Sea Dweller. That's pretty cool. If I saw a white dialed steel Sky Dweller, I'd say, whoa. And if I saw a blue one, I'd go, whoa. So, there's a lot of punch there, and it's interesting because when I first saw the Sky Dweller, I didn't really like it, and so I kind of like it now, and I have to ask myself, is it outside influence? Is it the fact that that model is incredibly popular that has influenced me and changed my opinion on the watch? And in a way, I think it really has, because if that watch was a dog, I would be jumping on the bandwagon and bashing it, because I think there's so many things I would improve on that watch. For example, the minute markers, between the minute markers, they're little half-minute markers. I think that's too much. I think it's not hard to read the time on that watch, but I think they've got these real thick hands, and so when it comes to determining the minute, if they were, I don't want to throw out ideas, because if you were to, it would alter the entire aesthetic of the watch if you were to say make the minute hand pointy or something like that. But if you're trying to determine exactly what minute it is, it can be kind of tricky, I think. And and the 24-hour hand, it takes up a lot of dial real estate. I don't know how I feel about that. It's not like you could put that in a window, because it would look like a date window. That would be weird. I think the fact that the hands, the hour hand and the minute hand, have cutouts to see that 24-hour function is kind of cool, but at the same time it sort of points to a design flaw that they even have to do that. It's off center. If it was in the center, it would look like a bullseye. It's off center. I don't know how I feel about that. I think when it comes to GMT functions, I think the fourth hand and the rotating bezel is near perfection. But obviously you can't do that, because you're basically trying to get, with that watch, a GMT function into a date just. And could they put an interior chapter ring, rotating chapter ring in it, like the Alpinist? I guess they could. That would be kind of weird too. And then how would that affect the month indicator, which, by the way, is very clever the way they worked that out. 12 months and 12 hours in a day. That's awesome. But then when I step back and I say they have achieved it, and by it I mean a GMT function in a very fancy looking date just-esque watch. And so I've got really mixed feelings about it. And as much as I bitch about little this, that, and the other, I think maybe they nailed it. And yeah, there's some real estate used up on that dial, but it is kind of cool. And you see the rotating thing. So I have mixed feelings about that watch, but I think it's one of those watches, if I got and I kept looking at, I would appreciate it. Kind of like the Lange 1. The Lange 1, I was like, weird. Oh man, that watch is, again, a separate video, but it's amazing, and it's like I just saw it through different eyes, and I totally understood it. And I think if I had the Sky Dweller, I think I would understand it. And I think while I'm bitching about little aspects of it, I think Rolex got it right, and I think I need to adjust my aesthetic tastes, and so yes, and that's the thing. There's so many dive watches you can go out there and get, Lee. You can't get something like a Sky Dweller, and that's reason enough to get the Sky Dweller. So Sky Dweller, let me know what you would do. Hey, I'm gonna put a poll right up there. Click it, vote, and let me know in the description what you would do and why. And yeah, Sky Dweller. Really, really cool watch. Is it a standalone model, or is it just a date just on steroids with a GMT function? That's what I want to know. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.